What's up guys, it's Skylar, and today I'm going to be telling you guys a story that I've never told before, which is how I went from rags to riches and almost back to rags again after making $3.5 million by the age of 22. This story isn't meant to gain your pity or anything like that. At the end of the day, every lesson is a lesson learned. Every failure is something to build and improve off of, and I take everything in stride. I'm never looking for sympathy. I'm never looking for anything like that because I realize that I am a product of my mistakes, and I will grow and I will learn and I will become a better person as a result of that. But I just want to tell the story today with full transparency. I want to give a little bit of an outlook into my life, how I've made so much money, and how I almost managed to lose it all, because I think a lot of people may come up with certain types of similar scenarios in the future, and I'd like to be a lesson learned for you guys as well, so you don't have to make the same mistakes that I made in order to succeed. So to start off with, this story begins when I was 16 years old. I think back in 2019, the timeline's a little bit messed up, but yeah, 2019 is when I would have been 16 years old. I was about 16 and a half years old. I was working at West Marine in Alaska. West Marine is a retail boat parts store. Basically, fishermen and boaters come into the store and they buy parts for their boats. They buy that type of stuff. Keep in mind, I'm a 16-year-old kid. I know nothing about boats. I might be from Alaska, but I don't know nothing about that. So I was just working there because I got a minimum wage job there. I was working for $12 an hour, and I had some type of sales incentive where if I sold people a plus plan in the store, I would make an additional $2 or whatever. So keep in mind, 16 years old, I'm making no money. I decide I want to do drop shipping because drop shipping is the craze back in 2019. Everyone's talking about how drop shipping is the ultimate thing to get into in the online space, and you're gonna get super rich off of it. So I'm watching a ton of YouTube videos. I'm trying to learn how to drop ship, and of course my genius 16-year-old self comes up with the idea to sell fake AirPods. I call them Ninja Pods. Inevitably, Ninja Pods was not a success. I don't need to keep the story any further. Spoiler alert, it failed. I lost a lot of money on that. I lost probably almost every amount of money that I'd ever saved, which was maybe $2,000 at the time. It was back to ground zero. Keep in mind, I'm still working at the boat store. I'm doing my drop shipping during my bathroom breaks, when I'm in the break room. I'm doing it at literally any opportunity when I have the chance to, and it's unsuccessful. So around the same time, I'm watching a ton of finance guys on YouTube, and one guy that I come across is Biaheza. For you guys that don't know him, I was actually featured in one of his videos like 3 years ago, which was super cool. It was like a full circle moment for me after growing up and watching him and being inspired by him to start my own businesses. And anyways, I start watching Biaheza, and he produces this entire series on YouTube about creating Instagram theme pages, like meme pages, and basically growing them, selling ads on them, or selling products from them. Me, being myself and being inspired and always wanting to work, I decided to do the same thing. And at first, I'm growing these little accounts with like 10,000 followers and like just growing things here and there. I'm not taking it super seriously. But over time, I start selling ads, and I get more worked into the meme page space on Instagram. And that was my first major break because I got connected with a ton of people who would serve to be valuable assets in the future for me. As I got into these group chats with other people that ran meme pages, I realized people were buying and selling these accounts constantly, and that was an opportunity for me. So instead of just growing these accounts, I took that opportunity to start buying and selling these accounts. And in the first 6 months that I was doing all of this, I made a total of $2,000. I never, ever want you guys to think that it's not possible just because it's slow at the start. Because trust me, for me, I am the perfect example of how slow it can be at the start. I made $2,000 in 6 months running these meme pages, flipping them, and I was at the point where I was about to give up. And then I hit a big break where I started flipping these accounts constantly, and I found people that would want to buy them outside of these meme page communities for more money because they weren't connected with these types of people. And so I started buying them from these people in these group chats and selling them to a whole different audience. And that's where I started making at least some type of consistent money. And that's not by any means millions of dollars, but I was making probably $5,000 to $10,000 a month. At the same time, I came across what is known as influencer giveaways. Influencer giveaways at the time were very new. It was nothing special, nothing super advanced, and only a few people were running them. And basically the fashion of these giveaways is that people would contact an influencer on Instagram, for example, and say, hey, I want to run a growth campaign with you, a growth giveaway, and we'll give you $10,000 or $20,000 or whatever. And in exchange, all you have to do is one Instagram feed post and one story post. So in my case, I would hit up TikTok influencers at the time because TikTok was super popular and influencers were just starting to blow up on there. And that was my big break because I started running these Instagram giveaways. And how they work is the influencer will post a giveaway, giving away a slew of prizes, and I basically go out and sell 100 spots to sponsors who want to grow their Instagram account. And in order to enter the giveaway, their followers have to go follow a list of people to enter. Super simple, nothing crazy, but it made a lot of money at the time because it was not saturated at all. And I took advantage of that. At first, I was not good at selling these. I was booking the influencers and I was offering to pay them the day before the giveaway or a week before the giveaway. Basically, basically so I had time to pre-sell all those spots and I didn't have to pay out of pocket, because keep in mind, I still don't probably have $10,000 to my name at this point. I'm still working with very, very minimal bankroll. And at the time, I was still working with my brother. My 14-year-old brother at the time was my business partner. He and I were working together. We started running these giveaways and it was very slow. It was tedious work. We were DMing people for 16 hours a day trying to sell them spots, and a lack of credibility could be credited to the fact that we were so young that we didn't have any type of social proof. People didn't trust kids, but we still made it work, and we still went out and sold all of those spots, and we started to slowly build credibility in the space. Anyways, around the time that I'm about to turn 18 years old at this point, we've progressed a little bit. That's when my brother decides he no longer wants to do this, and he's 16 at the time. So at that point, my brother decides he wants cashed out of the business. I cash him out his half of the business for $30,000, I think. At 16 years old, that's great, $30,000. But I'm not done yet. I tell my brother that I want to wait to pay him his $30,000 until after I run my biggest giveaway yet, which is with Jason Derulo, and that is where I made my big break. When I ran my giveaway with Jason Derulo, we absolutely crushed it. And that wasn't the only part of it. I also met my current business partner from that, and he and I started doing a ton of business together and making a ton of money together because he was connected to every big celebrity. So after Jason Derulo, it didn't end there. We were running giveaways with Bobby Shmurda, Lil Durk, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, Uzi, Floyd Mayweather, Khloe Kardashian, the list goes on. We ran giveaways with every big rapper out there, and we were making a lot of money from them. In the time span, I also brought on another business partner and trusted him with a pretty decent amount of money, and he ended up running off on me with about $80,000. But it's the past. Things don't always go our way, and I acknowledge that. And at the time, I was not in the position where I could sue him or do anything legally. At the same time, I also made some poor investments into Dogecoin and some other crypto stuff that was going on at the time. Blew a bunch of money, and that was whatever. But at that same time, I just turned 18. I was graduating from high school, and when I graduated from high school, I still was sitting pretty close to ground zero because I hadn't really had that big break yet of making a ton of money and actually stacking it up. I'd made probably a couple $100,000 by then, and a lot of that was just burned away, losing money to whatever I'd burnt that money on. So the issue is that I had to move out of Alaska. I'm a small town kid from Alaska. I don't know anything outside of Alaska, but I make the leap to go join some of my friends that I met online in Orlando, Florida. I move out there and I lock in. I was so hustled in. I was making a ton of money at the time doing celebrity crypto promos. I would set up crypto projects directly with celebrities. They would hash out a deal and I would take some back-end percentage of whatever they spent with the celebrity. Keep in mind, this was only a temporary hustle as these crypto projects eventually stopped spending money on this stuff as the crypto market was crashing. But I did manage to run up probably close to $500,000 in just a couple months off of that. And I was absolutely killing it at the time, while also running celebrity giveaways at the same time. Coming into 2022, which is when I was already out of high school, moved into Orlando, and I'd lived there for about half a year, things were slow. The crypto market was crashing. I didn't really have any new sources of income. And for a year or a year and a half there, I was very demotivated. I was not locked in. I was not hustling. I was not trying to find new things. I was not trying to build a network. I was just kind of sitting there stoic, slacking, and not really caring about anything. And eventually, in later 2023, the inspiration hit again. That's when I started wanting to make money again. And through the rest of 2023 and the entire year of 2024, I spent that time building out my content automation agency. And my content automation agency is my only source of major income right now. It's where I make over $120,000 a month right now. And it's something that you guys could start too with very low entry barrier. There is nothing stopping you from starting something like this. But I want to explain exactly how it works. Basically, at the time, I started with only a few creators. I built a lot of connections in the OnlyFans space just through doing promo work and other stuff for them. And my entire hustle was that I would offer to take these creators' existing content on their other social media accounts and blast it across a ton of social media accounts on every platform. So we were doing 10 accounts on Instagram, 10 accounts on TikTok, 10 accounts on Twitter, and these creators wouldn't have to make any new content or anything. All it would be me repurposing their existing content and making them more and more money from it. And this was great, and it was scaling great, but it hit a point where I kind of stopped caring as much about the fulfillment and I was going only aggressively in on scaling. That's the point where I messed it all up because I started losing business, my monthly revenue was going down from that. And in 2024, I had to do an entire mindset change with that, where I dropped nearly all of my clients. I went back down to probably my 5 original clients, and most of these were big agency clients, long-term friends of mine. And I told them, hey, I'm gonna make sure this is successful for you. I don't care what it costs me. I'm not gonna charge you any more until you're profitable. And that's exactly what I did. I made sure that they were profitable with me before they ever paid again. And once they were profitable and they were seeing the results from this, that's when I started to expand. But this time I wasn't going out and reaching out to a million different people. I was expanding within my existing 5 clients. And I was building out my retainers with those specific agencies, just trying to acquire more clients through them, because a lot of them had 30, 50 clients under their own umbrella of their agency. And so we get to the point where this is where I start really killing it. I'm making maybe 50K a month net profit. I'm really starting to cook, I'm doing well, and I moved to Miami. I moved to Miami in March of 2024, almost exactly a year ago, and I start making a killing off of crypto, a killing off of my automation marketing company. A lot call it the Miami effect. I think it was just a coincidence of me being locked in and really wanting to work. But that's about the time that I start making 100K a month, and I'm doing a ton of consistent money. I'm buying supercars. I bought my McLaren, I bought my Audi R8, my Porsche GT4 RS, my BMW M3 Comp. I was buying a ton of cars across the last year and a half. And anyways, I'm absolutely crushing it. And then we get to a few months ago, and this was the start of the end. I go to a trip in Tulum, Mexico, a trip where I spent a lot of money. Keep in mind, I don't spend like that when I go on trips. I spend a lot of money, but it's always on reasonable things. When I went to Tulum, I spent probably $25,000, $30,000 just going to the club, just going out to events, just staying with my friends and doing nice things out there. And granted, it was an amazing time, but it was the start of the end, because I got back from Tulum and everything went downhill from there. My ex-business partner, who I owned a tax and accounting firm with, had signed a sale agreement to agree to purchase my shares in the company, but when I came back, he just basically told me he was no longer gonna buy them, even though we had a signed agreement and everything. And so I was kind of freaking out at that point. And then I also realized that we had other business together. I'd invested an additional $100,000 into him as a loan, and given one of his friends $150,000 as an inventory investment for his e-commerce brand. In addition to that, I'd also given out almost $1 million in other investments. So keep in mind, at this point, I'd gotten a little bit greedy. I was looking for high returns on my investments, and what I ended up doing was just putting over $1 million out into the abyss, basically trying to make these 10% monthly returns. Yeah, in hindsight, it's stupid. I look dumb, I know that, but luckily I can afford to make a mistake like that. So at that point, I have over $1 million out. That's most of my liquid money at that point. Granted, I have the cars, I have the watches, I have the expensive assets and stuff, but that was most of my liquid money. Besides that, I had maybe $100,000 or $200,000 left. And granted, I wouldn't have been poor even if all that money was gone at this point in time, but it would have put me in a financial predicament, especially with the life I'm living. And so what ended up happening is pretty much all of these investments defaulted, and I didn't know what to do. I'm out over $1 million. I retained my lawyer for a new case this time. We had to file 4 separate lawsuits, all of which are currently active, and I'm currently working to recoup all of this money. So yeah, it's not the happy ending you guys wish you heard. I'm out over $1 million still to this day. I managed to recoup $150,000 of it so far. So at least I managed to get something back, but I still have 4 active lawsuits. And I guess that takes me to my final takeaway. This put me in the worst mental position I've ever been in my life. I've never felt so down and out, so bad about myself, and so willing to give up on a whim. This was literally the lowest point of my entrepreneurial career, and I can't stress that enough. I went through 2 or 3 weeks where I didn't want to work, I didn't want to be around anyone, and at the time, my now girlfriend was just the only person I was really hanging out with, and I was just trying to kind of cope with this loss mentally and come to terms with it, which I never really was able to. But at the end of the day, there's no reason to come to terms with that type of loss. I realized I just needed to keep working, keep chugging, and keep working on my content automation company, which was going to be my end goal and make me rich. And that's exactly what I did. I wrote off that money in my head, I let my lawyer handle all of that, and he continues to handle all of that. Obviously, I hate paying monthly retainers for my lawyer, I hate paying that much money out of pocket, but you do what you gotta do, and I'm gonna get that money back eventually. But in the meantime, I'm making over $100,000 a month right now. I'm making the most money I've ever made consistently, all from my content automation agency. And this was the easiest entry-level thing I've ever done. I've done all these technical things in the past, or tried to, and I realized that the thing I ended up making the most money from was something that required literally no skills, no marketing experience, no skill set, and no money up front. All I do is literally repurpose models, content across other platforms that they've already posted online, and I'm just making them more money off of existing content that they already have. I can't stress enough how easy it is, and I'm trying to help other people start that too. That's the entire point of my social media journey here, to help and inspire others to start as well. So that's something you guys want to learn. This is the golden opportunity in the social media space, not copywriting, not all these other forms of SMMA that people are preaching, because those things are saturated. There's a reason they're preaching them online. You've seen so many people preaching drop shipping. You've seen so many people preaching copywriting copywriting, SMMA, all these different things. But have you seen people talking about content automation companies? Because I haven't. I've only seen a couple people who even run these things successfully at scale. And the reason is because it's not saturated. This is this untapped little industry that's hidden away that people don't even know exists for the most part. So if you want to get started doing something like this, I highly recommend you go check out my other YouTube videos. They're all on my channel. They're super informational, and you will learn a lot. You'll have the exact blueprints to starting your own content automation agency from scratch and getting that to the 10-15K a month mark within the first couple months. And guys, I also offer a one-on-one coaching program. I'm looking to work directly with a couple of you who want to learn how to do this stuff at scale and make a killing. I'm gonna guarantee that I land each of my students 3 clients at the very minimum and make them a ton of money. I'm looking to help you guys get rich this year. I told myself 2024 is the year that I get rich. 2025 is the year that I help others get rich as well. Unfortunately, like I said, I had a rough start to this year, but I'm absolutely crushing it now. And I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Subscribe to my channel, leave me a like, leave me a comment below if you enjoyed the video. And like I said, guys, this is not a sympathy asking video or anything. I love my life. I feel blessed to have learned from these lessons. I feel blessed to have experienced everything I've experienced at such a young age. And I hope you guys can take away some lessons and learn from my mistakes so that you don't have to make them yourself. But without further ado, guys, have an amazing day. Check out my description below if you want to apply to work with me. And yeah, that's it. Peace.